Alan Lowenstein dedicated his career not only to the private practice of law, but also to being incredibly involved in his community. For him, that meant both pro bono work and also volunteer work in lots of community organizations and nonprofits and government organizations over the course of his career. When he decided to start his own law firm, he thought it was incredibly important that all the lawyers in the firm, starting with him, give back to the community. In 2008, as I was preparing to become managing partner of the firm, we came up with the concept of actually bringing together all the pro bono work that the firm had been doing and strategically picking the spots in the pro bono world where we thought we had the intellectual capacity among our lawyers to do the work. And the idea was to brand all of our pro bono work under a name and create a center, which is what we did. And we created the Lowenstein Center for the Public Interest that has been incredibly effective since its founding in having a very clear strategy about how we would be implementing pro bono work at Lowenstein Sandler, how we would be using the collective efforts of our people and our talents to help those who were less fortunate in society.
The things that we very early decided were going to be our focus areas: immigration, housing, criminal and juvenile justice, the sort of nonprofit and corporate representation we do, they've all evolved to become much more sophisticated than they were at first. They began in a sort of classic legal services mode. This client needs help, we're going to help this client. This other client needs help, we're going to help that client. And we started to build expertise in the areas in which we were representing individual clients, including individual nonprofit clients. But over time, because we're very systems-minded in the center, we started growing into more problem-solving kinds of work in the same fields. And that work was informed by our experience and our relationships with the legal services providers who were directly working with those populations. Because we operate on both sides of the legal services and impact litigation world, we've been able to serve as a go-between in a lot of ways between those worlds. So when the family separation crisis happened, and, there were thousands and thousands of immigrant children separated from their parents at the border, the ACLU was bringing a class action to challenge that. And we ended up interacting with the ACLU throughout the whole course of that very long now litigation to represent the legal service providers who were dealing directly with the children in the shelters, and therefore knew what was happening with them in a way that was otherwise obscure because nobody has access to them other than their legal services lawyers and their child advocates. So we were working with both of those populations to help form the responses through the class action to, ways to protect the kids. And that role where we're seeing both sides of that picture and understand both how civil rights litigation works and how children move through immigration proceedings, that's a fairly unique thing in the public interest world. And I think the firm has built an important niche for itself and a very important reputation as being able to speak languages on both sides of that divide.
In 2012, Doug Eakley had actually convened a roundtable of advocates who were interested in reforming the criminal and juvenile justice system. And Alex was there from ACLU New Jersey, and we had individuals from the Office of the Public Defender and the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice, Advocates for Children of New Jersey. And we just sat around and made a list of all the things that we thought were wrong with the juvenile justice system and what we wanted to fix and what we wanted to tackle. I still have that list, actually. And we've taken on a lot of those issues. I mean, just to name a few, we wanted to get rid of punitive solitary confinement in juvenile facilities, which we accomplished. We wanted to eliminate fines and fees, which we've accomplished. In the juvenile system, we wanted to improve the circumstances under which and the due process protections under which an individual could be transferred from juvenile custody to an adult correctional facility, which we accomplished. There are many, many examples, and we did it through litigation. We did it through legislative advocacy. We did it through advocating and forming relationships with the Juvenile Justice Commission. And there's much, much, much more work to be done. And we're going to continue to work on those issues. We play a really important role in the sense that we provide individual direct representation. But in addition, we have been able to build really strong coalitions in the housing, the criminal justice space, and the immigration space in particular to really just have a larger impact and solve problems. And I think that has been something that's been a unique role that the center has been able to serve in the community and that we will continue to serve.
So Alex, welcome. We're so excited to have you joining us. So what attracted you to Lowenstein Sandler after 13 years at the ACLU?
So I was a public defender in Essex County for 5 years, representing indigent adults charged with criminal cases. And then in 2010, I came to the ACLU. So in the same way that the center kind of bridges the gap between direct representation and impact litigation, that's kind of what my career has done. I started out doing direct representation and then came to the ACLU where I was doing more impact litigation. But I think informed by my time having done direct representation. As both Catherine and Natalie have said, we've worked together a lot. We've worked on election protection issues. We've worked on youth justice issues. We've worked on a lot of things. And I work with a lot of law firms. And oftentimes the question is, who could we ask to write this brief? Who could we ask to engage in this case? And there are a lot of law firms to choose from. But when we've got the hard issues, when we've got the issues that need first-class lawyering and real values alignment, Catherine and Natalie have always been my first call. So it was kind of the natural fit for me to get to keep doing the work I care about on the issues I care about, just with the resources of this tremendous firm. So we've had a lot of successes together, but I hope this is just the tip of the iceberg.
So to use a John Lewis phrase, what kind of good trouble do the two of you foresee getting into in the future?
As Natalie said, we want to continue the great work that the center has done on the priority issues that have been at the forefront of the center's work. We also both have a kind of interest in criminal and youth justice, and we'll try and expand that work. But we also know that the world is changing, and as the world changes, we want to be prepared to bring the resources of the firm to address those needs.
That's great. And, as much as we are sad for Catherine to be taking a step back, we're really excited to see the both of you take the helm of the center and continue strengthening the program that we have built over the past 15 years for the next 15 and 25 and 30 years.
Catherine leaves incredibly large shoes to fill, and we're not going to try and fill them, but we're going to try and continue to move the work of the center forward.